Hey, viewers. It's been a while. Hi, Dixie Belle. Thank you, Deb. Thank you for having me. Deb says, welcome back. So let's wait, I don't know, 15 seconds. Does that sound good? Hi, Lauren. We have viewers. Thank you guys so much for joining. Hi, Sylvia from Spain. So I've been on hiatus from live videos for the past 2 months. And it's so funny. When I was preparing for today, I felt nervous, which is a good thing because it felt new again. So I'm happy to be back. I caught my breath. Here I am. And here you guys are. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll get started. Hello, everybody. So as you come in, say hi. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I am Bianca. I am the owner and artist of Lotus Theory Designs, and I am a brand ambassador for Dixie Belle Paint Company. And today we're going to be working on these. Okay, so there's 2 of them, even though you only see 1. So these are, or this is, a nightstand that I created, and by I mean my husband did a lot of the work, out of an antique vanity. So we're going to be transforming these. We're going to work on them. I don't know how far we're going to get, but I at least hope to give you the basis of getting down the base finish. So yes, thank you guys. You guys are so cool. Thank you so much. Everybody's like, good to see you. Glad you're back. Thank you so much. I feel good. I feel really good. Okay, so let's get into it, okay? That is the before, okay? So I thought that I would go ahead and prepare for you a little bit of a walkthrough that got us to the point that we're at now. So as you see on that very left image, that is what it looked like before. And honestly, it was such a tiny vanity that I thought it best to break it up and create nightstands. And also those legs. I love those thick legs like that. So anyway, I thought they'd make great nightstands. In the center, you will see that I removed the decorative piece that was at the top of the drawers. And I filled in those grooves. And then on the right, I just had to show you that because, you know, I have to give my husband a little bit of credit. He's sandblasting the legs. So you see here, I have them wrapped up. As of now, they're raw wood. I'm not sure if I'm going to stain them. Well, I'm probably going to stain them, but I'm not sure what color yet. So you guys will just have to wait and see on that. I figured I would get to this point, get this done, and then see what's going to look good down here. So anyway, he just used a sandblaster to remove the existing finish. Very easy, very quick, very messy. That's why I had him do it. And I'll also show you this. So that's him. So we were gifted an old dresser and it needed work to the point where I was like, okay, we can either invest a whole bunch of time and money into fixing this dresser up, or we can repurpose it and use the wood. So that's him dismantling it, to which created the tops to the nightstand. So I don't have a picture of the top itself. Sorry, guys. The pictures are just kind of, I wasn't planning, but I'm glad I have what I do have. Anyway, so he used that old dresser. You can see that side panel. It's all thick and nice. He used the side panel to cut up and create tops. And I went ahead and I added 1/2-inch button plugs into the rim of the top just to give it, I don't know, some nice appeal and a little bit of a dynamic that's different. And I also added some WoodUBend flowers and trim to the front. So I've used this technique before where I've created like flowers with stems. You can see them kind of coming up the dresser there. And then here's another example. It's one of my favorite things to do. I don't know, it's just fun and creative and all that jazz. So I went ahead after I got everything glued on. If you look in that center picture, I did use a little bit of Dixie mud to fill in where I had cracked one of the WoodUBend Mouldings, and then also where I had some gaps because they were layered. So If you didn't know that, going around the edges of your WoodUBend moldings using Dixie mud is a great way to fill in spaces, gaps, and also to kind of smooth out the transition between your piece substrate and the WoodUBend itself. Okay, and then on the right, last but not least, that pretty much takes us to the point that we're at now. That is 2 coats of gray boss. So I use gray boss underneath to prevent bleed through. I just knew these were going to be a bleeder. And then 2 coats of burlap. So I don't want to spend too much more time on that. I want to get moving. So you guys, that brings us to where we're at here. Let me just get my little rolly cart thing over here. I always have gadgets. Okay, so then what I did, and I started to fill in the details using coffee bean. If you've watched me live before, you have seen me do this. It's kind of like glazing, but cheating, but quicker, which is I just take a brush, fill in the details, and I'm going to paint over it. But let me show you how I did that on that small section, and then we'll move forward. To do this, I used coffee bean. So I just have my brush. I was already using it wrapped up in a Target bag. Target bags are great for brush wrapping. I've worn them in public when it's raining and I don't want to get my hair wet. Yes, I have. True story. Anyway, moving forward. So I have coffee bean here. And let me make sure I can see your comments. I'm a little rusty, you guys. It's been a bit. Hi, Solly. I did have a nice break. Thank you, Kelly. Yes, Valerie, the button plugs. Totally cheap. These button plugs here, you guys. Cheap, easy way to add a little bit of interest to your piece. So using a little bit of coffee bean, a little bit on my brush here. Let me pull you forward. I'm just going to fill in these flower details. Shouldn't take too long, okay? I'm just really making sure that I work into the edges and the little tiny crevices, okay? Get yourself one of these if you don't have them. It's a little angle plier thing. I'm not really good with tool names. I'm always telling my husband, get me the fork or the plier thing. I've got crazy names for the tools. Luckily, he knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'm just working my brush into the details. Okay, again, this is not meant to take up a whole bunch of your time. I'm going to show you, after I'm done with this, how we fill it in. So what's going to happen is this is going to give me some deep, dark details. A little bit more paint when I put the paint over it. So again, it's kind of like faux glazing. All right, excuse my head. I just need to make sure I got everything. All right, okay, so pretty much good enough, okay? So I'm just going to set this aside. I'm pretty much done with this brush. And since I'm done, I'm just going to drop it into a cup of water. And it'll be fine until I get around to washing it. Sometimes I will use white lightning water to allow my brushes to soak in. If I left the paintbrush sitting out too long, maybe it got a little bit dried up. So little tip for you. White Lightning is Dixie Belle's cleaner, TSP, and is great for breaking up paint on your paintbrushes so that you can wash them and they bounce back. Anyway, this one is already done. So I did that earlier. That's good and dry, so we can move forward. And let me just see if we have any questions while I'm getting myself together here. Hi, Cha-Cha. It is nice to see you. Yes, Savannah, we are using coffee bean. Oh, no, Lisa. So Lisa says, it's sad when I have to open 2 screens so I can watch you and Leah. So we should have just went live together, right? That would have been fun. All right, so on my table here, I've got a plethora of colors, okay? I tend to grab a lot off the shelf. I never really truly know where I'm going until I get into it. So I did grab Burlap. Okay, that's the base coat. I also grabbed, let's see, Stormy Seas. I feel like this is going to end up in there at some point, but I'm just not sure where. I did grab Aubergine, dark, dark purple, one of my favorites. Got more coffee bean. I'll probably use that. And I'm probably going to end up using one of either chocolate or pine cone. Sometimes I use it for accenting a lot. And sometimes it's just a matter of putting a small amount onto my piece and seeing which shade looks better of the browns. So without further ado, I'm just going to start slopping paint on here. And I'll try to narrate as I go. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I will try to multitask, watch the comments, and paint at the same time. Like I said, it's rusty, you guys. So I'm rusty, so have some grace. It's been a while since I've been live. All right. Turn my air conditioner on. It's warm in this garage. All right, so I also have cotton. I'm probably going to put some of that in there too. So let's do, oh, and I grabbed driftwood. So let's start with a pretty neutral base, with the exception of the aubergine, and see what we get. So I was just talking to a friend yesterday, and we were just kind of talking about some of the fears we artists have, especially when we are either newer in our journey, or perhaps we're not as new, but newer to putting ourselves out there and putting our work out there. And one of the things that I said to her was that it's just paint. And that really helped me to overcome a lot of my fears when I was a newer artist, and still does today. Sometimes I am not necessarily confident in something that I start with. And I just have to remind myself, it is just paint. I say that because as I get into this, guys, I really don't have much of a plan. The magic of whatever is going to happen here is going to unfold with you and I here together right now. And yeah, I'm just going to go with it and see what we get. So right now I'm putting tiny, 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 tiny amounts of aubergine onto a mini brush. Okay. And this is one of my favorite techniques. I've showed it before, okay? It's a stippling technique. And I'm putting tiny, tiny bits of paint onto the brush. And I'm going to use the same brush to alternate colors. So again, tiny, tiny, tiny bit of paint. This is the burlap. Okay, if there's too much on there, or if I just want less, I just dab the excess off onto the plate, okay? You could totally do this style, by the way, with probably like 8-ounce jars and only use an ounce of them. Not the base coat, but the stippling part, yes. So the reason that I love this particular technique is I really like the depth that it gives. And just like a cloudy grunge dimension. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to work my way in small sections, okay, and I'm going to alternate between my colors. I'm feeling a little bit heavy on the aubergine, so a tiny bit more on my brush of the burlap, and I'm just going to work my way around. Now notice as I'm hitting these details that I've coated in coffee bean, I'm not being shy about working around them, but I am stippling over them. And what's going to happen is, if you haven't seen me do this technique before, the coffee bean is going to remain within the small, fine details of my flowers here. And it's just going to create a bit of an aged, dirty look, which I love. And let's just see what happens if we add a bit of driftwood. Again, I might put some on here and decide, you know what, I don't think I like the driftwood with that, and I might love it. It's just paint. So let's just add a little bit in there and see what we get. Jumping back to my burlap. I feel like I want to cover up a little bit of the aubergine. As beautiful as it is, I don't want it to be the focus of the nightstands. Maybe go over the driftwood a hair. So I'm going to check your comments in just a sec. But let me just tell you, I've gotten this far. Okay, I'm looking at it now, and I don't love the driftwood. Okay, it's kind of taken on a bit of a blue, purpley hue, partially because I've been using the same brush, and also because I guess just with the aubergine, it's going to pull out any kind of blue tone that's in the paint. Grays are one of those colors that it's just, you know, they play off of the surrounding color. So with that said, I'm going to go for, I think, dried sage or Spanish moss. I'm going to put a little bit of Spanish moss and see if I like that a little bit better. This is one of those situations where if you're trying to complement colors or contrast colors where color wheel comes into play, I know that just as being a photographer, really, you know, opposite colors would be like blue. The opposite color is yellow. Opposite color of green is magenta, etc. So I'm going for green in hopes that it's going to give me more of a gray hue rather than play off the aubergine. But again, get yourself a color wheel. Hi, Erin. Hi, Shelly. Yeah, I missed you guys too. Good question. Jamie wants to know what glue was used to attach the moldings. And I used, it's all the way over there, but it is Titebond wood glue. Dixie Belle sells it along with the WoodUBend Mouldings. I think it's on the same page on the web page. You want to make sure that when you're using WoodUBend Mouldings that you do use wood glue, okay? Because honestly, it's just so much easier. And it grips quite nicely to the wood moldings and onto your wood surface, and it grips quickly. Okay, so definitely get yourself some wood glue. Where was I? Okay, so I did grab some Spanish moss, a little tiny bit onto the plate. And see, I can already tell you that I like that better. So here's a bit warmer of a palette rather than when I had it here. That's the driftwood. Okay, so let's see how this comes out. Again, it's just paint. And yeah, I already like that much better. That's much better. Okay. So let's move forward. Just going to start going a little bit heavier, a little bit quicker. Once you get the groove on this technique, get your colors down, get the basic visual, it starts to go by a lot faster. A little bit of that Spanish moss. Yes, much better. Josie, happy birthday. I planned it that way. For 2 months, I sat here like, all right, when is a good day to come out of retirement or hiatus? Retirement's a bit dramatic. And I thought it needs to be on Josie's birthday. Happy birthday, sister. Yeah, okay. So while I'm going, I'll talk about this. I don't know what happened, Dana. So Dana, maybe a month ago, was like, hey, I can't see your videos to replay them. And I have to tell you, Dana, I spent probably about an hour on both Facebook and my settings, as well as Google. Maybe other people had the same problem, and I just couldn't figure it out. So Facebook converted my page to the new page experience. So the layout is a bit different than it was before. And with that, a lot of my buttons, as far as my content goes, is just gone. And I honestly don't know how to fix it. I really don't. So I'm sorry. If you're listening, Mr. Zuckerberg, please fix that. Or put out some type of information on how we can fix it if it's a user error. But I do thank you for letting me know, Dana. I really do. Okay, we need to put some white up in here. Cotton. Oh, thank you, Anita. Anita says, I can watch you paint all day. Yeah, let's put some white in here. We're going to need a little bit of white. Just brighten it up a little bit. Now, I have to tell you, my vision, it's not going to stay like this, okay? And I'm still going to go back through and probably fine-tune all of this. Right now, I'm just laying a base. But it's not going to stay this way. I do have a vision for doing something with the flowers and the stem. There's a good chance I'm going to paint on some leaves. So it's not going to end here, okay? And right now it is just trying to get it to like a neutral, earthy, with a tiny pop of color vibe going on here. And I started to put the aubergine up there. Let me hit it with the Stormy Seas and see if that helps at all. My plate is starting to get very Bob Ross over here. Yeah, let's do that. Let's try a little bit more cotton. Just kind of blend it into that. So with the stippling technique, you just kind of keep dabbing your brush into your finish until the blend is the way that you like it. Notice I'm not using any water. I could, but I'm not. And I might, you know, if it starts to get really dry, or maybe I just want a bit more of a blend in some areas, I can add a little bit of water. So I just put a little bit of chocolate onto my brush to see how I felt about it. And I think I kind of like that. So I'm just going to continue to work my way around this piece. Let me see, any comments, any questions? Yeah, Aaron says, Googling Facebook issues is useless. It's like a black hole. Amen. Not the black hole. You're so right, Aaron. You're exactly right. Then they have like those forums, and I tried to get into those to see maybe other people had experienced the same thing and had come to some type of resolution, and it didn't help either. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's just so new that they haven't addressed it yet, or, but I hope they fix it because I want you guys to be able to see my videos, especially on a replay. They're on my YouTube. So there's that. I mean, at least you can find them somewhere. Dana, I think I did give you the link. All right, where are we? So we need to blend this bottom section a little bit more. I feel like it's just missing something. So why not? I have some terracotta here. You guys, this is actually one of my favorite colors, by the way. Terracotta, especially this combo right here. Let's just see what happens if I put a little bit in there. Yeah, I just kind of brightened up a little bit. Added a little bit of depth. Can you see that? Thank you, Victoria. Victoria shared. Thank you, Andrea. So, so cool. Oh. Good idea. Good question. Erin says, do you use one brush for the whole technique? Doesn't it get muddy after a while? It can get muddy. So usually for the front, it does okay. I might be able to get a side out of the deal. I have a couple more brushes ready to go if it does get muddy. The other thing is too, is when I put too much paint in my brush, it gets muddy faster. So that's another reason why using small amounts of paint is good. That is a great question. Yeah, exactly. It is different. No, I'm with Dixie. Here I am. Yeah, COVID does play with our hearts. Thank goodness for paint. I'll tell you what, I don't know how I'd survive the current climate if not for my art. Anyway, moving forward, a little bit of burlap. Let me just put a little bit in here, maybe hit it with a little bit of cotton, bring a little bit of that light color into it. So again, this technique, it's going to take me a bit, okay? It's going to take me a while to get it the way that I like it. I'm going to keep just adding layers, adding colors until it gets to a point where I'm like, ah, there it is. That's what I've been working toward. Sometimes I'll dip my brush in the lid of the paints. These lids here, because, you know, they get all dried out and crusty. Good way to not waste it. So if you guys didn't know, these do get pretty icky when you leave them out, leave them with the tops off for a while. Sometimes I will put some water in this and let it sit that way to keep it from getting crusty. Other times I will literally just put it maybe into a vat of water, and I will actually wash these to keep them from getting crusty. Sometimes crusty is good. Sometimes we leave the lids off of our paint on purpose to let it thicken up, especially for this technique. Thicker paint is very helpful for this particular technique. All right, so where am I? I have too many colors. I'm starting to lose it. Here we go. So yeah, my brush is starting to get a little bit muddy, but that's okay. It's not creating mud. It's just, so I just dipped into the white and I had dipped into the purple just before that. And so it's starting to give me like a nice lavender that I wasn't going for, but I kind of like it. So we're going to go with it. If you're anything like me, you hate cleaning brushes. I used to blend with like all the brushes that I own. And you guys, I own a lot of brushes. I'm just saying. And then I'd spend all this time later on washing my brushes. So that is one thing I do like about this technique. One brush, one and done. And when I was telling you guys earlier about soaking them in TSP, white lightning, this is going to be one of those scenarios that I'm going to end up soaking it because I'm abusing the heck out of this brush. It's going to start to fray and it's going to get a little crusty with paint, especially because I'm doing a dry brush technique. Well, brushing dry, not dry brush. I'm using it dry. Anyway, so I will soak it when I am done in a white lightning to water solution and it'll bounce back. Love these brushes. So we are getting there. I think we need to put a little bit more Spanish moss into the mix. Let's just see if I go a little bit heavier over here with that. Let's see what we get. Llewellyn, a happy little mistake. Is he still alive? I feel like Bob Ross needs to know how much of an icon he is in our industry. If somebody could find out and make that happen, that'd be good, okay? All right, so that's a hot mess. That needs to be blended in a little bit more. So I'm kind of liking it. I can see that I need to do a little bit more fine tuning. Let me bring you in. Okay, so I was going for a more neutral look. I know I'm using color, okay, so neutral is you guys are probably like, huh, what do you mean? I guess a softer palette is how I should put it. Okay, I didn't really want bold and crazy because I am going to do something with these flowers. Unfortunately, that's going to be my last step, or at least once I get this entire base done. So I'm probably going to colorize them. I'm not sure what colors, exactly how. If you have any suggestions, by all means, let me know. I do love to hear from you guys. And I'll probably do something more to the stems here. Again, I said that I may paint some leaves. So these are orchids. You know how orchids have those big green leaves that kind of come up from the base like this and those tendril looking things. I may paint some of that onto there. There's the top. Oops. I may do something different with the top. So again, this is the top that I had my husband create using an old dresser. So reclaimed wood. I may do something different. And then I wish I could rip these off, but I really need them on until I at least get done with the base painting. But these are naked. So there's no finish on them. They're just raw wood. And I'm likely going to stain them. I'm wondering if the green, I can't remember the name. I'm so sorry, Dixie Belle. Voodoo Gel Stain, which is Dixie Belle's water-based stain. I'm wondering if the green, I think it's moss or something like that. I have to grab it off the shelf. I'm so sorry. Bad band ambassador. Anyway, I'm wondering if that would complement this. I don't know. I'm not going to know until I get it off, but I do love me some green, you guys. Oh, Barbara, darn it. Bob Ross, how did I not know that? It's been, what is that, 16 years? No, I think my math is way off. He's like super dead. My goodness. Well, his legacy definitely lives on in the furniture art industry. Yes, the Dixie Belle gel stains. There's two, you guys. There's water-based and oil-based. The one that I'm talking about is, okay, I'll just grab it. You talked me into it. Where is it? I think I have it. I don't have any. That is an unfortunate oversight. I'm going to need to get some. Anyway, it's green water-based stain. I use the Tobacco Road quite a bit, which is the brown water-based stain. I just love it. It's like perfect farmhouse brown. So I'm going to have to get me some of that green. Shame on me. I didn't realize I didn't have any. All right. So what if I, you know what? No. Hold up. Grab a new brush. Let me just show you one more thing before I let you guys go. So I grabbed a fresh brush, tiny bit of coffee bean, excess onto a plate. I'm making sure as I wipe the excess off that I'm also rubbing it into the sides of the brush, okay? Because I can see myself wanting to shade in some of the details here. So I'll do a little bit for you, just so you get the idea. But it's more of a last step, but I'll show you a little bit of it now. Okay, see if I can hold this bad boy and do it. Here we go, side of the brush. Okay. There's not that much paint on my brush. I'm trying to hold this camera and do it at the same time, so thank you for your grace. Okay, I'm just putting a little bit of focus on those edges. So it kind of gives a distressed look without distressing. I'm all about doing things easier, and I really don't like to distress and to give things that worn look. I don't know. It's not my favorite thing to do. Almost done. So as my brush gets drier, which, you know, now that I've done all this, it's starting to get a little bit drier, you can kind of bring it in, kind of create like a little bit of dirt. Maybe I'll do it around these flowers. I need a camera person. My 17-year-old has a job now. Not that she would have done it before, but I think at this point I would have paid her just to hold my camera for me. I'm so proud of her. She's working and she's buying my car off me because little miss crashed it, and my front bumper looked like it been through a can opener situation. Anyway, so I said, you can fix it, honey, or you can buy the car. So she opted to buy the car. So anyway, long story short, she's working and can't hold my camera for me. But anyway, you get the point. So you see how that just really kind of framed in the drawer there, kind of gave it its own identity, really kind of brings to life the grungy look. I'm going to end up doing this all over the whole thing. See the difference between the two drawers, that one and this one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh gosh, some things never change. I always have an issue putting the camera back up there. Any questions? Sure, no problem. Sherry. Maybe it's Sherry. Do a close-up of the bottom drawers. Love the stems. No problem. Okay, so the stems, WoodUBend trim, cut up and created to act as stems, okay? And then these are just orchids. And they're totally layered. I don't know how close it lets me get before it starts to get blurry, but I stacked them on top of one another. And I told you earlier that I used Dixie mud to fill in some areas. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you see where these two are layered on top of one another. So this is one flower, that's another flower. There was a big old gap there. I filled it in with Dixie mud and you can't even tell. Kind of makes it seem like this is just one piece rather than multiple pieces stacked on top of one another. Little trick for you. I use Dixie mud in a lot of ways, and that's just one. Good. I think, is it Araceli? I hope I said that right. You should just jump in. I don't know what you're waiting for, girl. Get it? Yeah, Stacy. So I don't know. I literally had, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8, 9 colors on my table and just said, well, you know, I'll put a little bit on and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But halfway through, I went from driftwood, which was a lighter gray, and changed it to a greener gray. And I also suggested maybe getting a color wheel. So thanks, Erin. Thank you, Linda. Okay, so Linda, the flowers are WoodUBend Mouldings. Good question, Angie. Does the stipple self-level or will it look raised? It's going to look raised. It's going to look raised in some parts, but it actually does self-level. Now, if I leave the jar, this is not even a good example. That driftwood, I think I had already put it back. I don't see it. That stuff was, I left the lid off and it was thick, thick, thick. That's going to give you a raised textured finish. When you leave the lids off of these, like that one's pretty thick. That one's probably going to give me a little bit more texture. So if you want texture, you know, you can leave the lids off. The dry technique, so not using water, is going to help. You could also use sea spray or mud to create texture. I do that as well sometimes. If I use the sponge, that would give me more texture because it's going to give me more peaks. Whereas the bristles of the brush give me finer peaks, so it all just kind of self-levels. When this is all said and done, you guys, and I'm going to seal it and everything, it will be smooth to touch. It's not going to be rough. That's a really good question. Base coat color is burlap. Thanks, Chris. Sublime. I like that. Such a word that's just not used that often. Okay. Stormy Seas. Is that this one here? That's the blue that you see coming there. Okay, guys. Yeah. So I'm going to keep going with this finish. I'm going to fine tune a little bit like down here where I feel like that purple needs to be blended a little bit more. I may or may not add a layer or just maybe like some spots where I didn't really blend it well here. But beyond that, I think I'm happy with it. Again, though, it's just paint. So it's going to help when I start to colorize my flowers to see if I'm feeling the vibe. And again, I don't really know what I'm going to do with the top, but let me show you the hardware and then I will leave you guys be. Okay. So I just feel like I need to give you as much of the vision as I can. I picked up these knobs from Hobby Lobby because, you know, go big or go home. Why not put more flowers on it, right? Why not? So that's the vision. And usually what happens is when I'm done, they don't look anything like what I taught you guys on camera, just because I just go so much farther. So mini brush, Kelly. Kelly wants to know what brush I'm using. Oh, Heidi, thank you. Yes, I will. Lorraine, will you do the same paint blends on the sides of the back? Yes, I will. Although not the back. I don't paint the back. Yeah, I know, right? Patricia says, thank goodness for the Hobby Lobby hardware. Amen. Okay. You guys, drop any questions that you have. I'm going to come back. I'll come back to, so we're broadcasting on, we're streaming to 3 places. Lotus Theory, which is my page, Dixie Belle, and also my Lotus Theory YouTube, okay? So I will come back to Dixie Belle at least once to see if there's any questions that I missed and comment. But certainly if you comment on my page, I will get around to answering you faster just because I have quicker access to my page and I get notifications and all that stuff. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I will be back, not next week, but the Thursday after. So this month I committed to doing 2 lives and I'm not sure what we're going to do. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm looking around my garage. If you guys saw what's behind the camera, oh my gosh, I need to get to work. I have so many pieces. But I can tell you that there's some cool things coming up in the works that's going to be offered by Dixie Belle, and I can't wait to demonstrate some of them. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate you, and thank you so much for welcoming me back with such open arms. You guys made it fun, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.